Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. The case that I'm going to be looking into today is the unsolved disappearance and murder of Patrice Endres. I'd just like to let you know, I mean no disrespect to anyone I'm going to talk about today. I've simply gathered this information from the internet, compiled it into one video for educational purposes. Patrice Endres was born on the 20th of November in 1965. She was married and had her son Pistol, but at the time of her disappearance she had actually split up with her first partner and was now with her second husband, Rob. Now Patrice was 30 and Rob was 50 when they actually met, and Patrice absolutely adored her son. She would support him in everything he did. She'd go to all his ball games and things like that. And she was just a very, very dedicated mother. Patrice worked very hard as a hairdresser. It is what she wanted to do for so many years. And she actually eventually opened up her own salon. Her customers adored her. They described her as always being happy. And she was a very, very hard-working lady. Everything for the first year between Rob and Patrice went brilliantly. By all accounts, he was a good stepfather to her son. But then, kind of his relationship towards Pistol changed. He kind of started being mean to him. He felt like her own son was taking up too much of her time and affection, and that it should have been on Rob instead of Pistol. They would often argue, and when it came to any argument that involved her son, she would always back him up. She would never back down from it. She would always support him. Not only that, her friend said that Rob was kind of always hanging around and he didn't really like anybody else spending time with her. Rob, on the other hand, said that they never really argued. He said that Pistol was the jealous one. So there's always two sides to every story, and I don't know which one is true. So you guys decide for yourself which one you believed to be more likely as we go through the case. Also, Pistol did say that his mother mentioned getting a divorce from Rob in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. Something Rob said he'd never heard before. Once more, take it with a pinch of salt, because one says it didn't happen, one says it did. You just don't know which is true. On the 15th of April in 2004, the day began like any other typical day for Patrice. She went on the treadmill before dropping her son off at school. They said their I love yous and then they parted ways. Little did Pistol know this would be the last time he ever saw his mother again. Patrice Endres disappeared at the age of 38. So from there, Patrice went to a salon. She opened it up. She had customers booked in that day. She dealt with all of her morning clients, or most of her morning clients. Her first one was at 8:50, and having been spoke to later, she said that yes, Patrice did her hair, but she didn't really seem like a normal self. She seemed very distracted and wasn't kind of as tentative as she normally would be. The last customer she dealt with that morning left at 11:27 a.m. This was verified by a phone call later on by the police. Patrice answered the phone at 11:35, which was a customer that was calling to change her appointment. She would later tell the police that she seemed very short on the phone, and what that really wasn't normal for her. It was completely out of character. The phone call lasted only 2 to 3 minutes and then they ended it. The phone would ring once more then at 11:50, but this call would never be answered. The police were later contacted by customers that had turned up at her salon expecting their appointment, their hair done or whatever they were booked in for that day, and she was nowhere to be found. When the police got there, they found that the cash register was open, there was some money missing, but nothing else in the shop really seemed to be amiss. Her lunch was still on the side, like she was gonna go out for dinner. There wasn't any kind of evidence of a struggle or any blood smears anywhere or anything like that. There was just nothing. Patrice had just vanished. The only thing that people did seem out of place was that Patrice's car was parked at the front of the shop. Customers explained that Patrice never ever parked there. She never parked at the front. She would always back up the side and leave a car there. So that was very odd. Pistol, being at school at the time, was contacted. He was asked to come in the office and they asked him if he had any means to contact his mother. He had her number, so he rang her. He called her 3 times, but there was no answer. And As I said, his mother was very dedicated. If she ever missed a phone call off him, she would always ring back. But she didn't. She never rang him back. He was taken to a salon, and that is when he found out she was missing. Rob was apparently alerted around 2 to 3 that afternoon. He was at work, so he headed straight from work to the salon, which is when he was then questioned by the police. So the police began their investigation. They kind of looked into any reasons that they could as to why she had gone missing. Maybe she just left. Was it possible that Patrice had just gone? But everyone around her that knew her, friends, family, literally everyone, customers, said that she would never, ever, ever leave without her son, Pistol. She would never leave him behind. When they began looking into the case, they found that the last person to actually speak to her was that phone call of the customer that came through at 11:35. So from this, there was a 13-minute window in which they really, really had to look into, because from when that phone call came in and ended to when the last phone call came in and wasn't answered is when something happened to her. That's when she went missing in such a short space of time. A witness did actually come forward and said that she saw Patrice's SUV parked in front of the shop like it was. She was coming up the hill around 11:45, and she also saw a Chevy blue Lumina parked in front of Patrice's SUV, like directly in front of the door of a salon. She noticed that the registration had a Georgia tag on its number plate. She also said that she saw 2 ladies near to this car. One was an older lady and one was quite a tall lady with dark hair. She said that they had kind of the hands wrapped around each other as if they were assisting each other. But she also said that it really did look odd. A second witness came forward. They were driving past the salon at around about the same time as the first. They also saw what they believed to be a Ford Taurus or a Malibu in front of a salon, and he thinks he saw a male with shoulder-length hair. Police do believe that these witnesses are very credible because they were both passing separately at around about the same time and both saw very similar things. Everyone was looking for Patrice, community, family, everyone, and Pistol was out looking. And what I find really, really odd about this case was when Pistol returned home, Rob didn't let him in. He changed all of the locks. He wouldn't even let him in to get his clothes. So straight after his mother had gone missing, he basically kicked her son out of the family home. He said it was because he didn't like him, he didn't want to have to put up with him, and he wanted him to stay somewhere else. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand not everyone gets on. Not everyone sees eye to eye. There are going to be people out there that you just, no matter what, you just don't get on with because you just don't gel. So I get that. But his wife was missing. This was her son. If, say, they had found Patrice, what would she say to Rob after he'd kicked her son out just after she'd gone missing? I very much doubt she's going to want to stay in a relationship with somebody like that when she adored her son so much. Surely you'd feel empathy for him, even if you didn't like him. Surely you'd want to help him, not get rid of him. Also, Pistol was only 15 at the time, so he was still a minor and he just booted him out. I just can't comprehend it, really. Pistol went on to live with his father, who lived on a farm. Now, the news of Patrice's going missing also really affected his father. Although they weren't together anymore, they were still really close. They were still really, really good friends. And his father was devastated at losing such an important person in his life. Obviously, they still loved each other in a certain way, whether it be friends or whatever. Sometimes you still hold a place for him in your heart, even if you're not with them anymore. And he was devastated along with Pistol. So police carried on searching. They looked everywhere they could. They looked into a number of suspects and they were just tracking down every lead. They did look into Rob, they interviewed him, they investigated him, but they found that at the time of Patrice's disappearance, Rob was on his way to a gas station, on his way to work. He had a timestamp at the beginning of work and they just basically said that his alibi was very strong. So they ruled him out as a suspect. On the 6th of December in 2005, which was nearly 2 years after Patrice had gone missing, her remains were found. She was found in the back of a Lebanon Baptist church, kind of in a wooded area. They searched the entire area trying to gather as much evidence as they could. And the remains were sent for autopsy, which by this point were actually skeletal. So obviously they had to confirm the identity of these remains. They didn't know who it was initially, but it was confirmed to be Patrice Endres. Although I can't confirm her actual cause of death, the police did confirm that she had in fact been murdered. Police have stated that they're holding back information into this case, which could be why I couldn't find a cause of death, which I completely understand. They're still trying to find out who did it. Holding back this information could help them secure a conviction and find the person when they find the person responsible. So completely understand the police not giving out all the information they have. They do it with many cases. Patrice's body was sent to a funeral home, and this was when Rob went to visit. He actually asked the morgue practitioner to lay out her bones like they would be if she was like a normal skeleton would be, so that he could say his final goodbye to her. He also asked if he could carry around her skull for a little while, which he openly admitted to in an interview. And I find that very, very odd. I know people can do strange things. It's just not something I'd personally do, but everyone's different, I guess. He then sent her off to be cremated, and he kept her ashes. He stated that he actually slept with her ashes for around a year, something that sort of comforted him. Rob still has Patrice's ashes, and he isn't going to share them with Pistol, her son. He's not going to share her ashes with anyone. Pistol stated that he doesn't have anything of his mother's, not even photographs, which is really, really sad. You at least want pictures of your mother, and the fact that he hasn't really got any just kind of breaks my heart. He was never allowed to lay her ashes into the ground if that's what he wanted. He just couldn't do anything because Rob, who was her husband, just didn't let him. Police have looked into different people of interest over the years, and one of these persons of interest was Gary Hilton. Now, Gary was found to have abducted a girl and held her. He then later killed her. Police found that he was known to be in the area because he was stopped by a policeman, and it was noted. He was a con man. He tried to con money out of people, and it was stated that Gary would actually con people in hairdressers and things like that around dinner time, which was very similar to Patrice's case. However, no information could be found. They couldn't really rule Gary in or out as being a suspect. Jeremy Jones was another person of interest. He was a serial killer who claimed to have killed 21 women in 5 different states over 12 years. He was actually caught in 2004, and he was arrested for the murder of another woman, Lisa Nichols. When arrested, Jeremy told police that yes, he had killed Patrice. He went into a hairdressing salon. He asked if she could jump his car, and then he said that he'd killed her. He even went on to draw a diagram of how the car, for the police, of how the cars were actually parked, which was spot on. He said that he went and drove Patrice's body and dumped it in Sweet Creek Valley. The police scoured this area, but they didn't find anything at the time. They didn't know where she was. But obviously we now know that Jeremy was lying about where he'd put the body because her body was not found there. Jeremy did later on recount his confession. Police did look into him thoroughly, but once again they couldn't rule him in and out of Patrice's murder. However, they didn't have any evidence linking him to Patrice. Now, there are a few theories in Patrice's case, which I found online, so I'd like to take you through these, and you guys can make your own mind up on what you actually think happened to her. So one theory is that it was somebody close to Patrice who knew exactly what a daily routine would be. They attacked her that day and murdered her. Another is that it was an opportunist. Her salon was actually located on quite a busy road. So many people would go past it all the time. People just believe that it was somebody who stopped at a salon, the wrong person stopped at a salon that day and attacked her. A theory that Pistol believes, and many people online and some of her friends believe, it was that Rob was involved in her murder. And he did it because basically Patrice wanted to divorce him. Many people online do believe this kind of in a different way. They believe that Rob paid somebody else to go to the gas station that day where they got the receipt, which proves that he was there. And that would give him the time to kill Patrice and get to work. Other people don't believe that Rob was involved. They believe that somebody else was involved. The police, like I said, extensively looked into Rob. And although they can't fully rule him out, they think it's unlikely that he was involved. Some people believe that Jeremy Jones was the one that killed her because of how he described the cars that day, but again, the information leading to where her body was didn't really tie up, and he did recount his confession, like I said. I have seen online that he only said this to get better food and luxuries and things like that. There are a few theories on this case, and personally I don't know which one I believe. I do believe Rob definitely acted strange around her disappearance, and kicking her son out at the age of 15 after his mother had just gone missing just really struck me as odd. But he was looked into and is believed to be innocent. I think it's really sad what happened to Patrice and her family, and after all these years we still don't know what actually happened to her, what happened in that 13-minute time window, and where she went, who were killers were. Her family just don't have a clue. I really do hope one day that it's brought into the light what actually happened to Patrice, and whoever did this can finally serve the justice that they deserve. If you guys have any more suggestions, please do let me know. I'll look into them for you. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content, and look at other videos for similar content. Anyway guys, that's all I have today on the murder of Patrice Endres. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!